a big round of applause for the Director of Programming for Wondercon, Eddie Ibrahim.
All right, are you guys from Comic-Con over there? Well, oh, wow. Thank you so much. I love you guys too. I'm really excited that we have a great lineup for WonderCon this year. I know we have great stuff on Saturday. How many of you are coming back Saturday? Good. And we have a great lineup on Sunday. But I know a lot of you are probably anxious to Jubilee. I know a lot of you are anxious to get to see what's coming up. A lot of X-Men fans out there? Then you're definitely in the right place. There's some cool stuff coming. So instead of like going on and on, just one mention now that we have a bigger crowd, there are bathrooms, so you don't have to actually leave the arena, and well, you have to leave this room, but there are bathrooms that you can get to, so that way you don't have to lose your spot. And also there's food, so that way you can kind of hang out here all day. And the other thing to mention, which you probably all know, how many of you, you all know what's coming, right? Feel free to record the actual panel if you want, so you can get footage of the stars talking and everything. But do us a favor, once you see footage, put those things down. The studios really go to a lot of trouble to get this stuff cut and ready and show you guys exclusively. It really is just for you guys. You guys are the ones that kind of waited in line. You got your tickets to come here, so this is really special. Once it's done, feel free to talk about how awesome it was, but please don't try to record any of the footage. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator of this panel, Ms. Movie Phone, Gray Drake.
Oh my God, WonderCon, yes! Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today at the 20th Century Fox panel for this much-awaited movie that's going to be coming to you June 7th. Now, just a quick personal note. Oh, no, wait. Hold on a second. Who out there got their amazing posters? Yes! Okay, so make sure that you're part of the social media conversation and post those bad boys up, because you need to make everyone else super jealous. Okay, I've already done it and I've gotten a lot of angry DMs. It feels so good, trust me. So now to my personal note, because I am such a huge fan of WonderCon. I've done so much work with these folks that made this movie we're about to talk about. And it's really special because I just got this new job announced as Ms. Movie Phone, right? Thank you. Well, so here's the thing. Like, I've used that service forever. It really meant a lot to me as a tiny movie nerd. When I saw the very first movie in this series, like, I was like, beep, boop, bop, boop, beep, hello. And so I feel like I've been waiting nearly my entire life to introduce this panel to you in this exact way. So for those of you who are familiar with the Movie Phone legacy, you're gonna know what I'm about to do. And for the rest of you, you're getting a preview of what's to come, because I'm gonna be everywhere super annoying you all the time. You ready? Hello, and welcome to WonderCon. You have selected Dark Phoenix. Yes! God, dang, that felt good, y'all. Thank you so much for indulging me. And now keep that applause going, because I'm going to start welcoming our panel today with, first of all, our director, Simon Kinberg, and producer, Hutch Parker.
Wow, a lot of people.
Right?
Very cool.
It's happening, you guys.
Yes, it is. Thank you guys for being here.
So Simon, ease us into this. Mm-hmm. Tell us the end of Dark Phoenix.
Everybody dies. They turn to dust.
No!
Oh no, somebody did that. Right? Somebody did that. No, that wasn't us.
Oh no, too soon. But actually, so Dark Phoenix for X-Men fans is like, it's very, very fresh in our minds all the time. It's a great storyline. Sure. We've seen it a little bit before.
Yep.
But tell me why right now was the moment for this movie to get made?
Well, Dark Phoenix was my favorite storyline, being a hardcore comic reader growing up. And I always imagined if there was ever going to be an X-Men movie, I never thought I'd be involved in it, but if there was ever going to be an X-Men movie, that's the one I wanted to see. And like you said, you saw it a little bit in X3, but you didn't see the real Dark Phoenix story in that movie. And so when we did Days of Future Past, one of the things that I loved about that movie is we got to reset the timeline in a way that made it possible to do a real version of the Dark Phoenix story. And that's what we try to do with this movie, is to give you all of the elements that you loved from reading the comic, all of the things that made Chris Claremont's comic run so iconic and sort of survived forever, and do it in a way that was emotional and intense and intimate and also cosmic. So this is the first X-Men movie that goes out into outer space, as you're going to see a little bit of today. It's the first X-Men movie that has an alien in it, that does a lot of the things that we weren't able to do with X3. And I think why now is we feel like you've lived with this family for almost 20 years in one form or another, and we felt as though hopefully we had earned our way back into doing this story. And one of the wonderful things that a lot of movies have done, and certainly MCU has done it perhaps the best, is tell intergalactic comic book stories. And so we felt like you all were ready, and we were ready to do our version of that.
You ready? Hutch, you guys have been making superhero movies before it was cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're allowed to take credit for that here in this environment. But can you talk about, like, the very first one in context with this one? And was there something back then that you were worried about, or something that was difficult that has really changed now?
Great question. Yeah. I think the first X-Men sort of paved the way to me for all of the comic book movies that followed, because it was the first one, opening with that scene in Auschwitz, taking something that was real and painful and depicting it the way it was depicted, suggested for the first time that you could tackle more than special effects and comic ideas. And to me, everything that's flowed since then has kind of grown from that moment. I think, candidly, in the early days of, even back at X3, there was still a little bit of caution about how willing the audience would be to embrace what I would call a more authentic approach to the comic books. And something I struggled with as an executive at Fox, trying to get certain movies made. And then I think in the last couple of years, for me, Logan and this film, did something different, which is dig into these characters and these issues in ways that we hadn't before. And that's something I love about the comics in general, is the degree to which they promise such incredible stories, and the underlying material is just so good. And frankly, I think it's better than we've been as storytellers in some cases. And this is a film that I think aspires to try to really tackle all of the potential of that while honoring the legacy and the characters and our wonderful cast. I think Simon has done a pretty masterful job at doing that, which we're going to share a lot of with you today.
Awesome. So let's talk, Simon, about this being your directorial debut, because you're behind the scripts for so many of these.
Many.
Now, what was like your challenge, or what was your lesson that you took into this experience? Because I feel like, you kind of go into it, right? Like, well, don't screw it up.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely go into it, don't screw it up, when you're playing with the greatest comic run in history. And as a directorial debut, it definitely is the highest degree of difficulty. But I've lived with these movies for a long time. I've been facing you guys for a long time. You've been incredibly supportive. You've also let us know when we got it wrong, which I also appreciate, because we learn as we go. And we try to make them, better each time. And as a director, I learned a lot from all of the different directors that have worked on this movie, working with these movies. Working with Brian on the movies, working with Matthew Vaughn, working with Jim Mangold, working with Tim Miller, working with Dave Leitch on the Deadpool movies. I've seen all these guys at work. I worked with Ridley Scott, who was one of my heroes, and each of them I just learned a little from being on set with and watching the way that they operated. And for me, it was like, I've been living with Dark Phoenix in my mind for so long. To actually express it on screen, I felt like I could just take what was in my mind and filter it through these incredible people that I was working with, because Hutch being a great partner, that we've worked on a bunch of these movies together, and I had an insane team, and a director is really only as good as their team. So I had this insane team of like, my DP won an Oscar for being the cinematographer of Avatar. My editor won the Oscar for Dunkirk, and he did all Chris Nolan's Dark Knight movies.
Wow.
Hans Zimmer, you might have heard of him, did the score for this movie. And that was after Hans said he would never do a superhero movie again, and I came to him and basically begged and bartered and just annoyed him for long enough where he finally ultimately said yes. And I think he also said yes because what I promised him and what I promised you guys is that it's a very different kind of superhero movie, that it is a more rich, emotionally intense, intimate movie that's got all the bells and whistles and all the spectacle and all the fun that you come to expect from these films, but it gives you some of the emotion that Hutch was saying, like from something like a Logan.
I think one of the big takeaways from what you just said is that perhaps your directorial signature is annoying people. Is that?
I mean,
I'm
it's just
into
my
it.
general signature, I think, in truth.
Okay, cool,
Brought
awesome.
a lot of that to everything.
How about we show everybody one of the things that you guys have brought today?
One of the things we brought today, we brought a big chunk of the movie for you guys to see today. And you're the first people in the world that are going to be seeing a lot of it. So,
Yes!
I hope you applaud like that or more after you see it. The first clip you're going to see, and it's just the first of two. The first clip you're going to see is early on in the movie, and it shows you that we leave the planet Earth in this film. So that's all I'm going to say, and enjoy the next 10 minutes or so of your life.
Yes! Oh my God. You guys, that J-Law is so sassy, am I right? God, I love it. All right, you guys, that's my cue. Let's bring up the cast, shall we? Yes! All right, so everybody ran out to watch the clip, so I'm gonna slowly and eloquently say their names so they go in order. For the love of God, guys, don't mess this up. Sophie Turner! Ty Sheridan! Nicholas Holt! Alexandra Shipp! Evan Peters! Cody Smith McPhee! You guys did such a good job. A+. My God, you have this cast wrangled like nothing. They know how to follow instruction and everything. First time director, A+.
We're a family.
That's the thing. I mean, I think it shows on screen that you guys are so close, and I suspect that you know each other relatively well. To ease all of us into this panel process, there's a lot of serious stuff in Dark Phoenix, but I also think that it's balanced with a lot of like family and a lot of lighter stuff, and there are great moments between you guys. So the first question that I wanted to throw at you, just down the line, is if Professor X could see inside your head, is there a hobby or a memory or like a funny story that he would see, right? And feel free to answer for other people too and call them out on things. That's what we're here for.
Memory from the
Making
movie.
movies?
I mean, it could be from the movie. It could also be from your personal life, and everyone's going
Oh.
to tweet about it and bother you forever.
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
Let's start with Sophie.
What?
I mean, actually, Sophie, I'll just give you like a really easy one to just tee it up for you. Like, tell us the end of Game of Thrones. Go.
Yes.
Sure. Nope.
All right.
I'm scared what you're gonna ask.
Oh my God, I love it. You Dark Phoenixed me just then.
I'll take this question for the team. And I'll think of one not from my personal life, because that wouldn't interest any of you, but from the movie. Just when we were making this film, you'd be surprised, but the biggest practical joker in this cast is Jessica Chastain.
What?
Serious,
Yeah.
Oscar-nominated, like Juilliard. Jessica Chastain is a menace. She is an absolutely dangerous menace. Don't allow her around your children. She's bad news. And one of the practical jokes she played was on, and Sophie was a somewhat willing accomplice in this, was on Mr. McAvoy, who's a very good target to be practical joked. And the joke was, there's a scene in the movie where his character is on wires. As you guys know, that's how they get people to fly or move in particular ways that aren't natural for them, and then we paint out the wires and you can't see them. So he was on wires, and the wires are being held by usually people from the stunt team who are manipulating that person's body to move the way they want it to move. And on the last take, after we'd gotten the take, Jessica, and I guess I was an accomplice too because I knew about it, Jessica got the guys she got our sound crew to start playing the song Macarena and to dance James's body around like a puppet doing the Macarena on the wires. So that would be, I guess, my memory from making this movie.
I like that. Are there any good pranks that come up with you guys down there? 'Cause that's the one thing I hear about this cast all the time is like, so close. People, when cut was called or when the day was called, you guys didn't even go home right away. Like you kind of hung out with each other. Nicholas, was that the case? Were you hanging with everybody?
Me specifically? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, we did. You know what? We actually reined in a lot of our pranks and we still had a lot of fun. But at the same time, this movie, like Simon was saying, focuses so much on the emotions of these characters and everything. Everyone had a lot work-wise to focus on with their characters, so everyone was a lot more focused as well. I'm trying to think of pranks we played because
There's the game. There's this game.
Oh
yeah.
God! I'm not looking at that.
See, he's really good.
That's been ongoing for like years through these films, though. The whole like look at the beneath the waist.
Yeah.
Or the airsoft guns.
The airsoft guns.
Oh yeah. We got in trouble for that.
in trouble.
We'll get, yeah,
Did
get in
Dares.
trouble. Good.
We used to do, or on Apocalypse that wasn't it? Dares.
It was mostly the dares
Yeah.
on a
Yeah, Dares on Apocalypse. What else did we do?
Oh, dares. Nice.
Dares.
It was odds on though.
Odds on. Yeah, it was odds on. What else? Tequila slaps.
Oh god.
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah.
That was actually on the last
After
movie, I
hours.
want to say.
Oh,
Tequila
yeah, that
slaps
was
were
Apocalypse.
outlawed on this movie because one of the actors from the last movie got knocked unconscious during tequila slaps. It wasn't really a game, it was just a form of abuse. They called it a game.
Could I ask for some further clarification on a game called Tequila Slaps?
Yeah, you just.
You go, Sophie.
You take a shot and then you smack the person across the face.
Okay, great. It is exactly what it sounds like. I love that.
Wholesome. It's very wholesome.
That's perfect. Well, and then flipping the script completely, like Sophie, let's just talk about Phoenix a little bit because, like everybody's been saying, there's a balance here. You know, it's very light. You guys are friends, but at the same time, your character's really going through a lot with this
Yes.
storyline. I mean, I kind of see it, and I have to tell you that, not to make light, but I relate to it because partially it's about a lady getting cracks on her face and being unable to control them, right? So, I mean, that's part of it. But can you talk about the difference in preparing to play Jean versus preparing to play Phoenix?
That's interesting. But you're right, the movie is mainly about wrinkles. That's kind of what we were going for with the movie.
Glad I got that, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, really, the preparation to play Jean and the preparation to play Phoenix was kind of the same preparation because it's not like it's not really like day and night. They're kind of fused together, and that's why there's such an internal struggle, is because it's these two kind of separate entities fighting each other within one person's body. And so that's what we were kind of going for. So really, we wanted to study schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder to kind of really delve into the psyche of the character and ground her in something quite real and something that will resonate with a lot of people. So that's what we were kind of going for, rather than two separate entities.
Yeah, which really adds a lot of nuance to the character because at all times there's something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I could see a little bit of that in all the cast, I think, a little bit. And Ty, can you talk about that too? Because, I mean, just what's really interesting about just Cyclops' costume is that your eyes are covered. So that's one of your main ways to broadcast what's going on. But there was a shot in that last clip that we saw where you thought she was gone, right? And I felt that from you. So can you talk about that challenge? Because this is sort of new for Cyclops.
Thank you.
It's like it's kind of like when in Judge Dredd, like you can't see a face, but you're getting emotion. This is good stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of eyebrow acting. Yeah. So I just sit in the mirror and just like try to move my eye. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's good. You know what? This movie is really fun. We've all been saying in some of our interviews earlier that it's fun because these movies they jump from decade to decade. So a lot happens over the course of 10 years, and so you get to explore these characters in different chapters of their life. And so in this chapter, Jean Grey starts to kind of wrestle with this dark force, and it kind of splits the entire team up into two groups, and one who feels that she's still the same person and they can save her, and then the other feels that she's maybe a little too dangerous. So there's some really interesting, complex character dynamics, and I would say the visor is it could be difficult, but then you have Cody and Nick who have to wear blue makeup all day long and prosthetics on their hands. Someone has to feed them their banana.
Yeah. I was totally going to ask about that legitimately because in this movie I was like, there's a close-up of Beast, and I was like, oh my God, how does he eat lunch? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of hair right there.
Quite slowly, and I eat a lot of the blue hair.
Ooh.
At the end of the day, I have a fur ball.
Wow, that really paints a picture, doesn't it? You're kind of like one of the vets of this thing. You're like a utility, I think, because we always come to Beast, and he's such a grounding force, right?
Yeah, I mean, the fun thing about this movie is we've seen him evolve over the past few movies from one of the students wrestling with his identity, and then now being, one of the leaders of the X-Men, but then also stepping away from Charles because of what happens in this film and kind of finding his own resolve and approach to the issues that take place in this film. So you kind of get to see a new side of Beast emotionally in this film, which is what was such a pleasure to play. And luckily, Simon gave me the chance to do that.
Was there a moment during this movie in particular where you were like, I just nailed it?
No.
Every moment.
No.
You're too busy coughing up fur balls like blue hair.
I think that would be the wrong thing for me to be thinking at any moment.
Understood. Respect.
That's actually not true. After every take Nick does, he's like, nailed it. After everyone. It's under his breath, but everyone can hear it.
Yeah, we can hear you, Nick.
Yeah,
You're
we
mic'd.
hear you.
You're mic'd.
Nailed it.
Alexandra, I am always so pumped to see what Storm is going to do. Always.
Yeah.
Me too.
Let's keep the vibe of this conversation going because in this movie, you face new challenges. And I felt physically, I was watching you and I was like, ooh, just wait. Just
I
wait.
felt that way when I was actually doing it. What's really fun about doing stunts is you punch someone and then they go flying back it really hurt, and then you're like, you gotta get out of it because you're yeah, I'm Storm, and she's totally used to it. But Alex is losing her mind. This is so much fun, and it was really fun being able to do all the stunts and do more hand-to-hand combat, and you really kind of get to see Storm really exude more power, and it was really fun.
When I'm looking at these clips, as a non-actor, I take myself out of it for a second, and I think about how you guys can't see any of the stuff that we see when you're shooting it. Because, so much of your power is CG, and it's added and stuff. Do you, real talk, do you ever stand in the mirror and practice all your cool superhero stuff.
That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do it, but it's actually really anticlimactic. Like, you're like, yeah, that was it, but nothing? Like, literally nothing?
Yeah, I think the saddest version of that is when in the movie it's epic. Bamf, he goes away, shows up somewhere else, but when it's Kurt, when it's me doing it, bamf, I just toddle off and run behind the set. As quick as you can, Cody. Okay. And roll. Yeah, it's quite awkward.
Nightcrawler is such an important part of the team, and that's something that really comes across in this movie is how needed everyone is and how everybody's such a functional part. But now that you say that, it actually occurs to me that his usefulness is essentially like him hugging people, right?
Very sweet way to put it. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great power.
Yeah, he just likes to get a bit of touch in. Yeah, nothing too pervasive. Just, yeah.
I love it, man. It's
Adults
like
don't touch each other.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really weird, but like adults, we don't touch each other. You touch
Right.
kids. You don't touch adults. What a beautiful power.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
It
for pointing that
is.
out.
Yeah.
I love it. You got a couple woos with that.
Yeah, and that too, little clap, little awkward clap.
Yeah, it's like a
in there.
shout out to hugs. There you go. What's Kurt going through in this film?
I feel like, as we say, you know, jumping the decades, you get to see a form of maturity in him, definitely, that is quite different to what I portrayed in Apocalypse, which was the more innocent, wide-eyed, vulnerable Nightcrawler that we love, and, you know, the comedic relief at points. But in this one, he definitely kind of starts there, but I had an opportunity to portray that more vicious, savage archetype in him that is a culmination and a product of his frustration building up from not being able to know how to fix these internal struggles and the crisis that they're all going through as a team and as a family. So it ultimately crushes inside of him, and that's where we see it kind of connect with, I would say, Alan Cummings' portrayal of the character, which was very demonic and quite aggressive.
Yeah, this is really a different side. There's so much conflict, and you can really feel that in the film. Now, speaking of conflict, the bravado of Quicksilver is like one of my favorite things. Yeah, I know. I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just like that, even that quick moment in the clip of just like, yeah, it was totally me. I did so much stuff. You know,
I mean,
it's like,
I basically did.
yeah. I'm like, that's our boy. One of the things that I associate with your character are these amazing sequences with great music.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, just like personally,
Yeah.
is there a song that like really resonates with you that you would set your own personal slow-mo sequence to?
Yes.
And you have to get really close to the mic. You're
Yes.
very, there you go. I'm gonna crack
it
that
is.
whip on you, brother.
Yeah. I think maybe. Do you guys know that song at the end of Mortal Kombat? When the ghosts are coming up? No?
Will you sing it for us?
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, I go. La 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 la.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Album's coming soon.
I'm just gonna let that sink in. Like I love that. Now I remember the song, like in my head.
It's also the end of Mean Girls as well. I don't know if that helps anybody.
Phenomenal.
Not at all, I guess.
Oh my God, there you go. Movie fun fact. Who's a fan? Yay. Let's bring it back down here to the end of this table. What's your favorite part of all of these extensive sets that you guys have? Because there's so much that's practical. Like, what was like one of the things you were like, oh man, dude, this is so cool?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that's really cool, and it was important to me to do as much practically as possible, like, which means obviously not with visual effects, CG, but to build things. And the reason why is, I think, one, and the actors can speak to this, but every actor I've ever worked with feels the same. When they have something real to interact with, it's easier to act, because they're actually in the space, they're interacting with a real thing. It's one less layer of sort of make-believe that everyone has to do. And then also, I think you guys feel it. Like, I think there's something when I watch a movie and I see practical effects, practical sets, there's a part of my brain that like makes it feels real to me. Like the physics of it feel real, the dimensions of it feel real, all of that. So there's simple little things in this that you would never know were a set. Like, as an example, when Sophie goes home to the neighborhood in which she was raised, it's a street of suburban houses. And in a normal thing, you would probably find a street of suburban houses in Montreal where we shot the movie. But I won't ruin it, there's some stuff that happens there that you couldn't do to a street of suburban houses without relying entirely on visual effects, because you couldn't destroy some houses. And instead of using visual effects and going to a location, we built a city block of suburban houses in the back lot of a parking lot where we shot. So all of those houses that look very real are very real on the outside and have nothing in the inside. That was really cool to me. And I think the other one probably, and you're going to see this coming up, so I don't want to ruin it for you, but there's a scene sequence in New York City, and we built a few blocks of Fifth Avenue in a soundstage. And that's what you were going to see shortly. And that was cool.
Amazing. On the flip side, so that was cool stuff that was practical. And Sophie, I would like for you to tell us in great detail, one of the things that I'm always looking for when I'm watching like a superhero movie is like, what is cool that is going on that I secretly want to be able to do? And something that I noticed a lot with Phoenix, I'm starting to move my arms like this, is that her hair kind of...
Yeah, I
Right?
get my own Beyonce fan.
I know we're going to lose some people with a hair conversation, but could you bear with me for a second? Because that CG is so cool.
Yeah.
But what was that like in real life?
It was terrible. They decided, the best way to do it is you have to kind of put like a bald cap on and tracking points for CGI. So, and one part of my costume is like this purple coat with this huge collar that kind of comes up like this. And I've got this bald cap on, and I look like Megamind. It's terrible. It's like, you don't feel cool, you don't feel powerful, you look like an idiot. It wasn't that fun. And they had me on this thing that not in the reshoots, but when we were originally filming it, this parallelogram, where basically like, it was like a seesaw. One end had weights on it, and the other end was just like a bike seat. And so I would kind of sit on this bike seat with my legs out straight, with my Megamind top half, and they would just like seesaw me up into the air. And it would just be the most painful, humiliating experience. But it looks really cool at the end, so I don't mind. It's good visual.
It works. In the end of the day, it works. So
Yeah.
it's like, thank you for going through all that.
No
Shame
problem.
on you for putting her through that.
It's for the good of the movie.
There you go. Ty, I've always wanted to know, we were talking about the visor. It cuts off your peripheral vision. What are you actually seeing through it, right?
Yeah,
Like, what does it look
it's,
like?
Well, this one, the last movie was a lot of the peripheral vision. It was like looking in a tunnel, and then this one is like looking like this. So you trip over shit, and like there's the stage. You're always shooting on a dark stage, and like like you don't. They fix your hair. They tuck your hair behind your visor, so you don't want to pull it off because they're gonna have to come fix your hair again. And so you don't want to, take it off every time you have to walk up the stairs. So you trip and you get a lot of bruises on your shins, and no, it's just. But the worst part about it is not being able to see whose mark is who. And there's all these people in the scene, and like they're like, oh yeah, Sophie's the blue mark, you're the green. And I'm like, dude, every color looks exactly the same because there's a red tint over everything. Like. You just got to give me white and make everyone else a darker color. Like, so that was really hard.
It is funny, like you see Ty and you're like walking into your spot, and then Ty will just walk and stand on your mark, and you're like, it's that one, babe. It's really sweet.
Just have to gently guide him.
Just gently push him back
me
over.
Over there, sweetheart. Don't blast me. We're good. Nick, is there an effect that's gotten a lot easier to do for you over time? Like, is there anything that is vastly improved?
Well, I was just thinking of the humiliating things since we're going.
Oh,
down
good.
the
Yes,
humiliating
yes.
things. So there's this thing that my stunt guys, Alex and Mish, do really well, which is like quad running. They're on all fours and they can like make it look very graceful and fast and amazing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, Nick, so you just finish off the quad run into the scene. But I'm not built to be able to do that. So it ends up me kind of crawling and then like popping up into frame, being like, like I just arrived, and then carrying on with the scene. So like, I'm sure there's some very embarrassing cuts of that out there.
And you know, when every scene is over, when you pop into the scene, what do you say?
Normally it's something to that begin. That's like my action thing before I hit
There you
someone
go.
or something. I roar. Yeah.
Nice.
It's better than that in the movie though.
Sure it is. All right, I think it's about time that we introduce what's going on next.
Sure.
Why don't we? I'm looking at you meaningfully because I'm glad you're all sitting down. You're very polite. Go ahead.
As I alluded to, we're going to show a second clip to you guys. This one's in New York City. And what you saw at the beginning was sort of the best of times for the X-Men, and this is not the best of times for the X-Men after some damage has been done. And the family of the X-Men have been challenged, and this is you seeing them in conflict. Two things. One is the visual effects aren't completely done, though they're pretty close to being done, but there's a couple shots that aren't completely done. The other thing, since there are some kids in the audience, and it says here, please be aware that members of the audience may be under 18 years of age. If you are under a certain age and you've never heard a word that starts with F, it's not fudge. You're going to hear it from one of the characters sitting on this panel, so I warn you of that in advance. For the fans that have heard that before, I think you're going to appreciate it. And so here you go. This is something that nobody in the world has ever seen outside of the filmmakers, so enjoy it.
Everybody put down your phones and enjoy. Damn. Isn't taking the subway in New York hard enough? Wow. You already said that you had a New York set, 5 blocks.
Something like that, yeah.
Tell me what else was practical in this.
Well, the thing that I think most people would not expect to be practical is that train that comes crashing through the wall behind Michael Fassbender, Magneto, was real.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a train car, and our special effects, not visual effects, our practical effects unit built a rig that could send that train car at, I don't know what, 20 miles an hour or something behind him, and we built a wall that would get destroyed, and Michael just had to walk through there and not flinch. And the thing that was crazy that happened is obviously you get one shot at that because you're not rebuilding the wall and all that. We had a bunch of cameras shooting it. But when we prepared it and all the rehearsals we did to make sure it was obviously safe for Michael, it stopped like 10 feet or so behind him. But on the day, for whatever reason, when we actually filmed it, it stopped about half a foot behind him. And that thing that comes crashing from behind him that falls down, like those bricks, are real. They're in the set. And only Michael Fassbender, with love and respect to every other actor on this panel, including myself, no other actor in the world would not even blink when a subway car comes within about 6 inches of hitting you and bricks are falling behind your head. Michael just stood there ready to take it. So that was real.
Wow.
And scary for everybody except for Michael.
Somebody out there is clapping because they're like, Fassbender needs to be taken down a peg or two. That's cool.
Good luck.
Hutch, and when you have your producer's hat on, are you hearing that story and being like, what?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to do that practically was something we really debated.
Yeah.
partly because it's risky, partly because you can't do it again, right? So generally speaking, you don't want to do anything on a movie you can only do once, because the odds of it going the way you hope it will are pretty slim. We really did have, I think, one of the best special effects or practical effects guys around, and he's done a couple of movies with us, and always delivers. And he's like, no, I got this. And I'm looking at the set, we're looking at the moldings and all that's all gonna come down, that's it. We can't go back. He's like, no, I got this, it's gonna work, it's gonna be great. So we kind of sat up there, we all watched it and videotaped it, kind of the way you guys are, and perfect.
Yeah, you should ask Sophie about, there's a sequence that Sophie's in, not that particular one. That one, she just stood there and did the hand acting. But ask her about the scene where she's controlling a helicopter that was actually also practical and real and very close to killing everybody.
What?
It was a lot of fun. It was a real helicopter. It was spinning around. It was ready to go, and like we literally did it with all of the cast, all of the crew, all of the extras. They were all there, and I just kind of do this, and the helicopter tips over, and it starts like flipping shit out of the air and grass and everything, and it was amazing to see. It was terrifying, but it was amazing, and no one was hurt in the making of this film.
Yeah, I want to continue to stress that because I feel like there's a general theme happening here that I don't love.
Understood. Yeah, miracles do happen. Everybody's completely safe.
Yeah.
Here they are. The movie comes out June 7th. It's going to be great. And then as we wrap up, I just need to know for my own satisfaction, does Michael Fassbender ever wear the Magneto helmet like just for funsies? Like after a take is over or something?
Nick?
Who wants to
Eats
take
the cereal out of it in the morning.
It's exactly the detail that I was looking for. Thank you. Okay, so as we wrap up, there's one more piece of business that we have to do. Everyone out there with an iPhone needs to take it out, turn your AirDrop on, because I am about to take a very special Wondercon selfie with everybody on the panel. They are going to be giving it a little signature, and we're going to airdrop it to you. So technology is a thing that is happening, and what we're hoping is that you guys are going to be so pumped about what you've seen and heard, and you're just going to be so amped up with all the drama and terror that we've talked about, that you're going to tweet out #DarkPhoenix, and you're going to start throwing things, and then and also X-Men movies on every platform. Instagram, you guys know the deal, right? Okay, can I get a yes out of you? Thank you so much. Okay, great. So they're going to bring over the selfie stick to me. I have my very special. Here we go.
Where do we go?
Clearly does not want to be out on stage, by the way. So we're all going to gather down there around Cody. We're going to rally. We're going to do one big hug.
Rally around Cody.
Am I sitting?
Nope.
Stay there looking pretty.
All right.
And by the way, if you wanted to stop being polite and start standing up, you could end up in this.
Yeah.
Stand up. Stand up.
All right. So, thank you. This is always fascinating when you're checking out all our butts. Enjoy it while you can. Everybody, I'm going to back up. I'm going to get obnoxiously close to you.
We need to get more of the audience.
And we're going to get more of the...
There you go.
Okay, great. Oh my God, look at my selfie arm. This is captivating. Yay! I'm taking 18, so there are plenty to choose from. And we've got it. You guys are really patient and amazing, and you're going to get this airdrop to you, courtesy of 20th Century Fox if you have an iPhone. And for Android users, turn to the person next to you, make best friends with them. And at the end of the day, we have wrapped up this panel. You guys got this amazing first look at Dark Phoenix. Make sure that you spread the word on social media, because these days it's super important. I'm going to say June 7th one more time, and then I'm going to say thank you so much. I am Ms. Movie Phone, and good afternoon.